Hi
Okay.
everyone, it's Helenik here, and I'm with Geta, a woman of truth. That we are dedicated towards helping women connect more with the truth of their own value and the truth that all women hold, our inner value, always intact and they're ready for us to grasp. But sometimes we don't know how to find it or remember that it's. I'm going to speak to a really beautiful into a baby room product. You can hear the children in the background.
Yeah.
And this is the beautiful little girl that came to the event.
Hi.
Where I actually met. She was telling us about her products made for mothers just after pregnancy. They are like hammocks, baby carriers that I'm sure you've seen around, but hers have special add-ons, special devices that actually add value to them. But we're going to meet her today, the woman behind this truth. Welcome to you, Geta. Lovely to have you here. Tell us, what's the most important information that you came across that convinced you that you needed to have a way of helping mothers stay connected to their babies early on?
Well, first of all, just not holding on to your child when it's a newborn is just a thing of common sense. Because if you would have a baby in the woods, you would not put it down on the floor because there are animals, there are predators. The baby is just not, the human baby is not capable to survive right after birth like a cow baby. Because humans are born still in development for a lot of biological reasons. And mothers are made so that they feel the need for this connection. Because if you would put a baby, say, on the floor, just put it away, there's a hormonal mechanism that if you as a mother do not feel the baby holding it, then you have hormones kicking in that start a mourning process. Because in nature, if you would be separated from your baby right after birth, there will be only one scenario where this would happen, and this would be if you had a stillbirth. Otherwise, you would hold your baby regardless. So
very interesting piece of information you share with us. Tell us, what was your biggest challenge? You're a mother of four. We can hear the little one already really pulling on mommy, and so we know how important moms really are for all their babies. So what's life-changing about all this?
Well, before I had kids, I had this concept. Well, I was literally very scared of having them. And even when I was pregnant, I was thinking, I was caught in this catastrophic thought process where I was thinking that, okay, I'll have this baby and my life is over. Everything will be about the baby afterwards, and that's done. And then when I had kids already, and I started wearing them, and I started replying to their needs and not ignoring them as people around me would tell me to, I realized that the model of the 20th century, where the child would be the center of the system, and the whole family and everyone else would orbit around the baby and tell everything about the baby. Everything has to be for the baby, and now you have to quit your life and change everything, is actually not the way people used to do this for thousands of years before that. I just ignored all the recommendations from around me and started listening to my son when I had the first baby. And every day he proved to me that this was the right way to get in touch with, to just transition into motherhood. And hey, and yeah, he's very excited about this cable. So I would respond to my child's needs, and that was the only thing that they needed. And then I realized that you don't need to buy all the things that are available in the stores for baby care. And the most important realization that I had was actually that the child is the blank slate that needs to orbit the parent and not the other way around, how the modern society teaches us about parenting.
Yeah.
And this became my main parenting philosophy, where the parents are the model that the child needs to copy, and you don't have to preach to them anything. They are capable and smart enough to take the information they need in order to survive from you, but you must provide it to them.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful. So as an 8-year-old young girl, you told us you were scared before having kids, but 8-year-old that was in you years and years ago, and the wise woman that you've become, mother of 4, what advice would you give her, your 8-year-old?
oh, my 8-year-old.
What did she think about
Yeah.
back then, and how did life turn out?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that because of the sound too well. Are you referring to myself as an 8-year-old or my daughter? Oh, okay. Number one is that things are not what you think they are, first of all. So, and that it's important to pay attention around you, and that things are much more beautiful than you can imagine. Just look at the real things and not at the, I don't know, media messages that you get exposed to.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a family that was like very TV oriented, so we would have TV all the time. So I grew up with messages coming from the TV about parenthood that turned out to be very, very, completely opposite to the reality. Hey.
Great. So even in life now, Moldova is where you spend a lot of time. I'm just wondering, experience as a woman now becoming a mother and seeing how the way the world is working, and you're a mother that runs a business, right? What would you say is the biggest lie women live with in life?
Well, one thing about like the world being adapted or welcoming to mothers, first of all, the last 2 years I have been in the Netherlands. So after like most of my life being spent in Moldova, which is Eastern Europe, that has a 3-year-long maternity leave, I moved to the Netherlands, where the maternity leave is the shortest in Europe. Despite the fact that they are very open and like do home births easily, what we don't have in Moldova and all. But it's really sad for me to see this high focus on separation between new mothers and children in their first year.
Yeah.
So it was much more complicated to run my business that I used to do for over 10 years back in Moldova, from home, from anywhere, because I don't know, just the environment was different there. The thing is that society is much more open to accepting a dog in a public space rather than a small child a lot of times. Not all the time, but I believe it's very important, especially on the idea that the child needs to see a model to copy. It's important to provide this model of social life and social integration of mothers together with children as well. So
Geta, what do you think is the difficulty that women are facing because of that? Like, if women are going in life, society, I'm trying to understand the lie that women are about themselves and their abilities and their rights and their privileges in society. I get your point about society not making it so available for mothers to be connected to their children. So what does that tell us about women and younger women and what they believe about life? Because you yourself were saying you're pretty scared about having a child, having watched all the things around there. What's the lie that we end up believing as women?
Well, well, now you can see a lot of those trends about child-free, like being child-free as a philosophy and all of that, and just the decline in population growth. That's also a factor that we should look at. But the thing is, like, there are the women who still go on and have children, and then they get smashed by the reality of the fact that they will be separated from their child, and I have met in the past few years, I've met a lot of women who tell me that they love their children a lot. They try to breastfeed. They do all of the things that are important for the child's development, and then they send the child away to daycare, go back to the office, but they are so. The setup of the early childhood is made so that the separation is done very abruptly most of the times.
Okay.
And this is causing a lot of suffering for the mothers, for the children. I see a lot of mothers who tell me that, yeah, I sent the baby to daycare and I was crying for months every single day, and my life was kind of back to normal. I would go back to the office, but I just couldn't get back into this rhythm. But you have hormones in place, you have the oxytocin and the prolactin of being a mother, and you still didn't fall into this motherhood role of yours, and you have to cut it loose and treat your child like a commodity. I'm sorry that maybe I'm overblowing this, but you do not cut off the baby out and just put it back into a cupboard and expect it to thrive. Because if you look at the high divorce rates, you look at the high suicide rates growing now, and there are a lot of research pointing at attachment problems, and the attachment between or the person growing up is actually formed in this first year of life. And well, there is the theory of the fourth trimester. Yes, that physically helps the baby adapt to the outside womb life. There is the other concept of 9 in, 9 out, that tells that the human baby needs to develop 9 months inside the womb and 9 months outside the womb before it becomes autonomous and starts walking away from you. That's another approach. Well, that, on my behalf, that would be a minimum attachment period that mothers would need to transition into this phase. And then there are other theories that are looking at a 2-year attachment phase.
Yeah.
Regardless, cutting it off too quickly makes it a traumatic experience both for the child and for the mother. That's one thing. And a second point is that it's actually possible, and humanity survived for thousands of years having children, and it's possible to combine motherhood and still being a human being and going on developing yourself even more, with the benefit to the child, when you realize that you are the model that they're copying, and you have to be the best version of yourself to put out there. So it puts a lot of responsibility on you as a mother, and it's important to take this responsibility.
Yeah.
And doing that, it takes you to a new level. It makes you it brings you to a new phase in your life that's very fulfilling and very satisfying. But you can't understand it with your head unless you experience it.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the experience of being a mother, I'm also thinking about the women's movement that's become so much more focused nowadays on bringing a lot of this information out. A lot of groups are providing what's called sisterhood. A lot of tantric circles are developing where women and men are learning about masculinity and femininity on a more kind of essential level. What are the differences? I'm wondering about you, who has such a strong experience and opinion about the rights of children to be close to their mothers, and the rights of mothers to have their natural unfolding of motherhood happen in a, in a less traumatic way, in an uninterrupted way, in a supported way. We've had some private talks where, I, shared with you and you shared with me how important it is to look at, the support governments give to all of this. So if we were looking at the women's movement now, and we're talking about the rise and awakening of women in business, politics, decision-making, businesses, here you are, a mother of 4 running a business yourself, which you'll tell us a little bit about in a moment. But what do you think is the most important thing to add into this whole rise of women in the world right now? What would you say about that as a mother of 4 running a business and concerned about how interrupted motherhood is with the way the world is running?
Well, I really have this bottom-up approach. So I really believe in the fact that every single one of us has to take responsibility for what's going on with us. And we need to build what we feel that is lacking and not expect other people to come do it for us. So we want to integrate children into our day-to-day life work environment. We just need to build the framework for that. Or we need to make a project about it and just put it out there, because the world can accommodate all of our needs. We just need to claim them. That's one point. And it's really amazing that women come together and start supporting each other and building all of these projects and proving the world that when you want to be an engaged professional woman, you do not have to take up this male model, which is kind of archaic. You don't have to be a man in a skirt. You can honor your femininity, your motherhood, your womanhood, your cronehood, and still and build your own model for running a business, or for running your creative projects or anything. You just have to take your responsibility, take action. And then by doing this, you become a model for people around you. And then you get to inspire the other people, which is, again, great. So you get ripples on the water effect, which is amazing.
Which is what you're doing for a lot of women, I think, for them to know that you are an actual product designer and that you're so passionate about children being able to access their mothers early on. And it's so important. Tell us a little bit about what you're passionate about, the products that you've developed, and where you're heading with this business.
Well, with this business, like I said, I started doing baby carriers in 2006, 2007. It was a while ago. I started doing it in different ways than they are now. And, well, first of all, I was bringing, baby wearing is an ancient skill. Like, there is research that proves that wearing children was available thousands of years ago, right at the dawn of humanity, and there are some anthropological research that shows that it contributed to the development of the human brain in the way it is, and to the upright position and all of that. So it's an ancient skill, first of all, because when the baby comes, there are several skills that a woman needs to learn in her baby moon phase, which is breastfeeding, sleeping together with your child, and elimination communication, and baby wearing. So these are the basic skills that you need in order to address the basic needs of the child, so that you build this connection. So as a marketing, advertising person, turning a skill that's a hands-on, like, physical experience into a product that you buy was a complicated task, but it was very engaging for me. So I started making the baby carriers in Moldova, where I was probably one of the very, very few mothers in 2006 who were wearing their children. So I launched a product in a market that was completely unaware of this practice. Yeah. So I ran into all of the challenges of teaching someone in a consumer society, teaching people that they need to put an effort and learn a skill in order to receive the results of using this product was a hard task. And what happened is that I started teaching, because yes, you put the product out, but without the instruction manual, it's worth nothing. Because now, in the past centuries, we lost this connection we had to the previous generations, because in ancient times, women would learn baby wearing from their mothers who did the same thing. And we do not have this privilege because our mothers didn't wear us. So I had to come up with this product to be adapted to the environment of today's society, which means I needed to simplify the carrier. I needed to make it as straightforward as possible, so that even people who are not ready or willing to put in the effort of learning the skill of wrapping a baby would still get the benefits. So I reduced the wearing process to just 3 buckle clicks, and I made it as simple as I could. And in the world of gadgets, you need to add, though I had this situation where I had to go to a maternity hospital back in Moldova and teach a mom of a premature boy to wear her baby. And I was there teaching her, and then 2 nurses stopped and they were looking at me and they were saying, "Oh, look, this is what they taught us in nursing class." And then I was shocked, because apparently all the nurses in the maternity hospital knew how to teach wrapping a baby and knew all the benefits of kangaroo care, but they did not teach it to the mothers. And then I was asked, and like World Health Organization is recommending the connection between newborns and mothers. They recommend kangaroo care for like 30 years now, but it's not happening in maternity hospitals where the children need this as much as possible. So I thought, let me update the baby carrier so that it's as simple as possible to use for the mother and to learn to use, because especially mothers of prematures, they are super stressed, and in highly stressful conditions, you're not very good at learning new stuff. So I wanted to simplify the learning curve for them, but also I wanted to motivate the health staff, so which means the nurses and the doctors, to encourage the kangaroo care and the connection between the mothers and children, and not foster the separation practices that are in place. So I decided I would add sensors and sensor technology to the baby carrier. But I wanted it to be as non-invasive as possible, because you don't want to interrupt the bonding process between the mom and the baby. So I decided I would look into electronic textile technology and have the circuitry woven in and as invisible and as non-invasive as I could make it. So that's what I'm working on. I'm really happy that I have working prototypes now, making heartbeat squiggly lines on the parent's phone, which is really useful information actually for health professionals that are looking into neonatology as well. So everyone is happy. So I'm building a tool that will connect the parents to their children and not separate them, and still provide health professionals the information that they need about the child development. And yeah, that's what I'm building. I have been working on this since 2016. There's still a lot of work to do before I can roll it out. But it's really fascinating, and I believe it's highly important for not just for today, but for the next generations to grow up more sane and more connected and more secure and safe in a better family environment.
Wonderful, and I'm so glad that you are doing this job for the rest of us and for all the mothers out there that also believe it's so important to get back in touch but just don't know how, or haven't designed a product, or haven't really got enough of themselves convinced and others convinced. You just provide something that makes it really easy for them to do that and have that. And it would be lovely if people could know how to find you or find the product. So we'll put all of that onto this video if anybody's watching and wants to introduce this to a mother or a friend or a sister or whatever who is
Yeah.
needing a product like this, you can see that Geta is very passionate about it all, and we'll put it all together in some shape or form. And now, Geta, there's a chance to give 3 words that for you are really important words out to the community of women watching and those who are wondering how to get involved, you know, with you and your message. They can connect with these 3 specific words. What would you choose?
3 words. Oh, first of all is connection, responsibility, and role model.
Oh, great.
Because you have to take the responsibility for the fact that you, regardless of what you do, you are a model to the people around you. And the better you connect to them and provide a better model in a responsible and aware way, the better the outcome for everyone, for you in growth and for the people around, children or grown-ups, it doesn't matter, as inspiration and as a motivation to be better themselves.
So you really have to take the responsibility as a mother, and part of that involves making sure that you have a strong connection to your child and for your child development.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
It's been lovely, and I look forward to hearing more about how this all grows and how this develops for you in the future. So I would be very happy to connect anybody who's interested and watch this video with you personally if they need.
Yeah, sure. I would love to get in touch with people who are interested.
Wonderful. So
just
all up
message me.
And look forward to hearing how you take over the world of mommies with baby carriers.
Yeah. I have a little passenger falling asleep here.
I think we all value so much that connection. So nice to see it here today.
Yeah, even now. Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope it was a useful message.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't ramble too much because I have a tendency to do that.
It's all great. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's be in touch. Bye.